Imagine being able to access some of your retirement savings before you're too old or frail to spend it. Well, changes to South Africa's pension system are in the making. National Treasury is expected to table amendments before the end of this month for public comment. One of the proposals is to allow workers to access a portion of their pension fund savings early. Cosatu has been in discussion with Treasury about the changes. Cosatu Parliamentary Coordinator Matthew Parks joins us now. Good afternoon, Mr. Parks. As always, thank you very much for your time. And let's just start off. What is Cosatu's position on these proposed changes?
We support it, we welcome it. We had actually made these proposals to government in May last year, during the height of the COVID-19 lockdown. Millions of workers had lost their wages, had lost the means of survival, yet they had savings available in their pension funds. Even those workers who were still being employed or paid often had to support unemployed relatives. They're really struggling. So we're trying to say, let's assist these workers, be it public or private, with some sort of limited access to the pension funds to survive, to take care of their families, pay for food, etc. Also, in some instances, to pay down the debt. So we think we need to give some sort of relief. So we're quite pleased that Treasury has begun to move with speed, that they agree with us. What's going to happen now is that this discussion paper is being released this week by government for the public to comment. A draft amendment bill will be tabled by Treasury at NEDLAC and then taken to Parliament by early next year. So we're quite keen on it, but we also must be honest and be a little bit realistic, if I can put it that way, that this is not going to happen overnight. You require to amend the Pension Act. We also have to amend the Government Employee Pension Act as well to enable public servants to be included. And that will take for the better course of next year. So at best, this is something that will only come into effect by the end of next year.
And Mr. Parks, those not in favour of this amendment to the pension bill say that part of the reason for their opposition is that they say that there's so many people, elderly people who are already reliant on government grants, that there's a large level of poverty in the elderly, and that they say allowing people to access their pension funds early will deplete those funds so that they are not sufficiently catered for later in life. What is Cosatu's response to that argument?
Look, we appreciate that argument, and there's some element of validity in it. Only 6% of people can afford to retire when they reach retirement age. So that basically means the working class and middle class, by and large, can't afford to do so. But we also need to appreciate the realities of today, when workers, be it public or private, are highly indebted, have lost wages in this unprecedented global pandemic. We've lost 2.2 million jobs in the past 18 months. So workers are really struggling, yet they have significant savings available. And yes, we would love to save to reach retirement age, but if a worker can't buy food or electricity today or tomorrow, we need to give them some sort of help. We also have to address the current legal gap where a worker can access the pension fund completely if they are dismissed or they lose their job or if they resign from the job. So often what happens right now is that a worker who is struggling because of indebted issues, medical emergencies, family pressures, etc., will resign their job, will cash out the entire pension fund, and that really is the worst of both scenarios, because now the worker has no job and they've depleted the pension fund. So we'd rather say, let's look at finding what's the right balance. Allow workers some sort of limited relief to survive, to pay off debts, pay off emergencies, and continue to be employed and continue to have some sort of savings. But the proposals from Treasury are also quite revolutionary, and actually could incentivize us to save more, because the idea going forward is that it would have a twin pot regime. 2/3 will be for savings, which you should really only touch when you retire or if you lose your job, for example. The other third would be available to you as and when you might need it. And we think the fact that it would be available to a worker will actually incentivize workers to save even more, knowing that if push comes to shove, if there's an emergency, be it medical or whatever, they could always access it. And that really could help, like in China and Europe, incentivize savings, which can really grow the economy and protect workers.
The public participation process is absolutely important, but often we don't see a high enough level of engagement from the public in these processes. What can you say to our viewers to encourage them to take part in these processes and make their voices heard?
Sure. Look, we've got a robust public participation process in South Africa, much more advanced than many other countries. So government will release this paper for public comment now. Any member of the public can access it through the Treasury website, make their comments, etc. We'll be having engagements at NEDLAC, which includes the leadership of organized business, organized labor, and government and society, civil society as well. When the bill does come, or before the bill goes to Parliament, it would also be released for public comment. People, again, could make their submissions. And when it goes to Parliament, there'll be 2 rounds of public participation processes there, both in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. There'll be public hearings in both of them, where the public would really be encouraged to participate. And the fact that right now, during COVID-19, Parliament has been open virtually, it means that a person could be sitting at their home in Thohoyandou, or the home in, Gofenbaba in the Eastern Cape, etc., and can participate in Parliament and make their views heard. So we would encourage them as Cosatu to do that. I think the more the public participates in this, the better. Let's have our discussions. I think that'll enrich the fund that we find the right solutions that can really enrich the debate. But sadly, what we've often seen, Hanley, is that the public doesn't participate. When you've seen public hearings at Parliament on critical issues, very few members of the public participate. I think partly it's about not knowing, but I think it is critical to do it, because if government hears the views of the public, it really does enrich their decisions at the end of the day. And we would encourage that as Cosatu.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. That was Cosatu Parliamentary Coordinator Matthew Parks.